Good evening. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Amy Burkett. Make no mistake, High School Musical theater is big business. 50 million people saw a high school play or musical last year. American high schools spent about $300 million on theatrical productions in just one school year, according to the most recent figures from the Educational Theater Association. In fact, licensing to the youth market has become so lucrative that writers, composers, and producers are seeing revenues skyrocket in a business where millions of dollars are often risked and lost staging a professional production. But the cash flow isn't reaching epic proportions for high school musical theaters in our area. The individual budgets at each school is generally very tight compared to other needs. Carolina Impact's Jason Terzis takes us just over the border to South Carolina's Nation Ford High School to show us the blood, sweat, and tears that go into putting on a show and keeping it within budget.
When you think about this.
It's show day at Nation Ford High School in Fort Mill. This year's production, Seussical, which is a blend of Dr. Seuss's most famous children's stories. Excitement, nerves, anticipation, stress, a wide array of emotions for everyone involved, especially after spending the better part of the school year preparing for this very moment.
The best part is on the opening night when just everything just comes together and you just really feel like it all matters and that you're doing it right.
What each school community sees is the finished product. What they don't see is all the rehearsing and the countless hours organizing, designing, cutting, twisting, painting, and drying. All that work for a 90-minute performance. Oh, but it's worth it.
I love watching the kids grow. I like to watch the kids problem solve, figure things out. How are we going to build this? How are we going to build that?
Sherry Addison has been the drama director at Nation Ford for 8 years. She knows all too well the challenges of organizing and running a production.
It definitely takes a village. It's not something I can do by myself, no.
As part of that village, Sherry has a couple of assistants, a musical director, and a choreographer.
1, 2, 3, 4. When you think about one, big, don't get tired.
They all work together, making sure that when it's showtime, everything goes according to plan.
As a director, you've got to have control to a certain degree. But I have to tell you, the people that I work with, I get to the point that we're so in sync with what we do that I'm okay going, you make that decision.
For a school with over 2,000 students, you'd think the budget for conducting an annual spring production would be pretty large. Well, guess again.
They do not have a lot of money for this program.
This year's budget is $10,000, none of which comes from the school or the district. Instead, that number comes from proceeds from the previous year's production.
It sounds like a big number. Like if somebody gave me $10,000 today to spend, it'd be great, you know? But for everything that we have to cover, it's not really that much money.
Off the top, $3,000 goes directly to rights and royalties fees. Another $1,200 goes for music tracks.
But anybody that knows Seussical knows that the entire thing is music and dance. So the scenes that are there are great, but that's not my background. Dance is not my background.
And since dance isn't her background, Sherry hired outside choreographer Linda Booth this year to nail down all those dance moves. And that's another chunk out of the budget.
Here you go. Just think, and 1.
So because we had to invest that money, we had to kind of move other parts of our budget around.
What's left over goes to everything else: the set, props, paint, costumes, and all the little odds and ends.
Luckily, I've been here long enough that we have some set stock pieces of things like platforms or flats or things like that that I can repurpose and use over and over again. So the lumber order might not be as extreme as if I had to build everything from scratch.
With so much to do, so many details to stay on top of, all while being aware of every dollar, is quite a challenge.
We have tons of paint we need to buy, primer, paintbrushes, and then we need wood, lumber for the set, and just tons of material, and it's just really difficult. I don't know how we all get it done, but we do, so.
Well, here's this. I'm going to tell you this right now. I changed Aaron's shirt to blue. I'm just trying to think, did I get everybody now? Like, who am I missing? We raid the costume closet and we repurpose costumes and cut them up and make them become different things. I need brown pants for Shane. He's on the list. I need brown pants for Max. He's on the list. He's not on the list.
We've had tons of trips back to going to stores because just we miscalculate sometimes. It happens.
We've hit the Pineville Goodwill. We've hit the Rivergate Goodwill.
Okay.
So you're going to do the Rock Hill Goodwill. Yep. We end up nickel and diming going, is this worth it? Is that worth it? And then, I mean, we can reach out to the parents. I mean, if we have to reach out, if there's something we really can't find but we really, really need, we can ask for donation.
So we go out and we do fundraising and we donate prop items, whatever the need is. We will go and find it and bring it to them.
The parents have gone above and beyond for this show. I kind of put a shout out and said, these are the things that we need, and they just kind of kept pouring in.
Parents also deal with the programs, working the phones to sell ads to local businesses.
It's really relatively inexpensive to get an ad in the program. For as little as $30, they can get an ad. You're reaching all these local families.
Things like helping do the program, that kind of stuff. Absolutely. If somebody wants to job that out, and I've got Miss Iacovetta doing that, thank God, because that's something that I don't have time in my day to deal with.
With 29 students on stage, another 30 behind the scenes, teachers and parents all working together, Seussical was a success. Revenue from ticket sales, student participation fees, program ads, and a fall fundraiser will then all go towards funding next year's production. Then it'll be time to start crunching those numbers all over again. For Carolina Impact, I'm Jason Terzis reporting.
Thanks so much, Jason. Nation Ford has performed at the last 2 Bloomy Awards, and it's interesting to note that a report in the New York Times says educational licensing has reversed the fortunes of some shows. Seussical the Musical, the show you just saw being put on, lost $10 million in 6 months when it debuted on Broadway back in 2000. Now, the writers reworked it, and it had a successful national and educational tour. Well, you can see this year's Bloomy Awards show only on PBS Charlotte. It's coming up Tuesday, May 29th at 8 p.m. Thanks to a grant from Wells Fargo. We appreciate their support so very much. It's an exciting show, and I know you're going to want to watch it.